Welcome to the Fathering Strong podcast, where we celebrate the incredible journeys of fathers who are making a difference. Hosted by Urban Light Ministry President and author, Pastor Eli Williams. Each week, we'll hear from an inspiring guest who will share their unique fatherhood story. We'll discuss the challenges, triumphs, and lessons learned along the way, offering valuable insights and encouragement for all dads. Join us as we explore the power of fatherhood and build a brighter future for our families.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the Fathering Strong podcast. Eli Williams here, and we are delighted to have with us Michael Cooper Jr., or the second, however you prefer. A fine young man. He's a good friend, and our families go back a long ways, and it is such a delight to have you on the podcast today, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, sir. Honored to be here. Appreciate the invitation, and excited to get started.
All right. Well, how we usually start is by inquiring about your fatherhood journey. And let's begin with life growing up as little Mike in the Cooper household. What was your relationship like with your parents, especially your father?
Yeah, so had a really good upbringing, good childhood, awesome parents who loved the Lord, raised me in the fear of the Lord myself, and just very hands-on. One thing about my parents, they were actually slightly older. So I always had the older parents. They did not get married till they were 36. And then I was born when they were 38. So I always kind of had the older parents. So the thing that made that really nice was just the old school values, the principles, the things that they could instill in me that a lot of my friends, like, it was just foreign to them. A lot of the things that I was being taught and those kind of things. So that was awesome. I always say this, my father was, in fact, himself, he was raised by his great-grandfather. His great-grandfather was born in the year 1890. So just for context, I always let people know I was raised by a man who was raised by a man born in 1890, which is crazy thinking just, that was my father. He was raised by that guy. So just beautiful, I would say, childhood I was blessed to have because of my parents, the love they had for each other, obviously the love they had for the Lord and the love they had for me. And my dad he was the one that was mainly home with me. He was a full-time pastor. By the time I was born, my mother still worked, which she chose to do. And so I was with my dad most of the time and got to really build that relationship and that bond. And we had a very strong bond from that day until the day he passed a few years ago. But yeah, just he was very hands-on. He always said, "I want to teach you everything I know." And he'd always concluded with, "Because I want you to be better than me." And that's something that's always stuck with me. Because I don't know if every man has that, that desire for their child. Or maybe they have that desire, but do they put the work in to pass everything down? Do they take the time to spend with their sons, their children? Are they passing things down? Are they being intentional about that and showing them love and showing them just everything? So I was blessed to have that, and I'm very grateful for it. He was very present, never missed hardly anything. I can think of maybe one time he missed a ball game. I played pretty much every sport coming up. And there was one engagement, I think it was on a Sunday, that he just couldn't get out of. He was supposed to be the speaker. And we're talking a lot of years of sports, every sport, basketball, football, baseball, soccer, peewee, elementary, high school, college. And so just one thing that just always sticks with me about my dad is he was there. He was there. And that's kind of how I would summarize my experience in childhood.
Yeah, well, you are extraordinarily blessed, and your situation is becoming more and more rare, unfortunately, as our society has moved away from the godly model of parenting, which really is about fathers and mothers living together with their children, loving them and raising them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. You had that. And of course, our goal is to see more and more children have the advantages you have. So if you're watching this, you're listening to this, and you think that this doesn't happen anymore, well, here's someone sitting right here in front of you who can testify that yes, the old way of raising children still exists and it still works. It still
Absolutely.
works. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you grew up, went off to school.
Mhm.
You didn't go far in terms geographically. Talk about that.
Mhm. Yeah, so, born and raised in Springfield, Ohio. Um, Coming up, as I said, played all the different sports. Coming out of high school, only had a few options athletically, for sports. I didn't play football in high school until my senior year of high school, but because of my size, height, those kind of things, there was some interest there, and so, I had an opportunity to go and be a preferred walk-on at Ball State University to play football. But as I said, football was not really even my passion. I had only played it for 1 year in high school. Um, and so I just kind of thought, well, that might be nice, go play Division I football. There was another offer from Ashland University, which was a Division II school for football as well. And pretty much those were the main two. Now, that would have been a full ride. Those were the main two options. And then Wittenberg kind of came in at the last minute. Wittenberg, small liberal arts school in Springfield, for those who are familiar. And they were the only school that was interested and really wanted me to come and play both football and basketball. And basketball was my main love at that time, although I was probably a little bit had more potential to be a better football player down the road with the right coaching and things. So long story short, didn't want to stay in Springfield. Actually, I wanted to get away. And in fact, had told my dad, speaking of my father again, that I didn't even want to go on the visit to Wittenberg. I'm like, I'm already set. I had decided in my mind I wanted to go to Ashland University. I was going to play football there on a full ride scholarship. In fact, the coach who recruited me at the time sat in our living room, had several conversations with him, was Matt LaFleur, who's actually currently the head coach of the Green Bay Packers now. So just a little fun story I like to tell with Coach LaFleur. But I was all set to go to Ashland, and the day I did have the Wittenberg visit scheduled, and I told my dad, we can cancel it. I don't want to go. We're all set. And he said, no, we don't want to cancel it. You already gave them your word. You'd come and hear their pitch. So let's just go to it. So I said, okay, but I'm not going to Wittenberg. So he said, well, we're going to go anyway. So I go and end up falling in love with it. The football and basketball programs were willing to work together with me to play both sports at that level, which is rare, for those programs to be okay with an athlete doing that. And so we're able to do it, and graduated in 2012 with a history degree, played football and basketball for 4 years. And yeah, that was how I got to Wittenberg, kind of just, again, the guidance of a father. And that's where I was supposed to be. Had he not been there, I would have made a decision to be, 3 hours away, and, who knows where I would be right now.
Yeah, because your father was pastoring in Lima, which is 2 hours away.
Right.
So then you're talking about going even further to be present with you. So that made it possible for him to be that ever-present dad he had been up to that point, continuing into your college career.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. It gave, and he didn't do it selfishly. He wanted me to go where I wanted to go. His thing was just, you gave your word, you'll go on that visit. We're going on that visit. And those little things are just powerful, because everyone doesn't have that strong, steady voice. One that they respect enough to listen, or in my case, I didn't have a choice because that's what Dad said we're doing, but that I respected. Okay, if that's what he's saying, I'm going to go and be open to it, and it ended up being exactly what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, great story. So you met someone and got married, and voila, now you're a dad.
Yeah.
So talk about that experience.
Yeah. So my wife, actually, we had known each other for years, grew up in the same church. Her great grandmother actually was a pillar of our church. And just kind of, the funny thing is, she had kind of become like a grandmother figure to me from the time I was born. And just a very sweet lady. She passed away 1 day after my father did.
Oh,
but just a very
It's all
sweet
right.
lady. So anyways, her great granddaughter, I grew up with her, but we were about 5 years age different. So if you know anything about youth ministry and things like that, you're typically not in the same stratosphere because of our age difference. So I knew who she was, but we were never in the same circles, never talked or anything like that. And so I go off to school and I come back a few years later, and I had accepted my call to the ministry at this time. And so to make a long story short, at now my now wife, her name is Kalia. She was, I believe, 19 and I was 24, I think. And so at that time, we just ended up somehow, well, not somehow, God orchestrated it, but we ended up crossing paths, kind of connecting for the first time. Because as I said, although we knew each other, never really spoke, never talked, just two different worlds. And so we talked, connected, we ended up dating. And we dated for maybe 8 months, 10 months, something like that. We ended up getting engaged in 2017, January. And we both were very sure that, this is what God had for us. And so we set the wedding date for 6 months out and got married in July 2017. Our first son was born in May of 2018. So I always say, and in fact, when my wife first was pregnant, I had a preaching assignment at our statewide council organization for our churches. I was the young up and coming voice for this particular meeting that was to speak. And so I got up to speak and made the announcement that my wife and I were expecting, and mostly everyone there knew we had just recently been married. And so I said, we got married in July 2017, and our firstborn child is set to be due. The due date is May of 2018. I said, so for all the mathematicians out there, I know we got the mathematician saints, that's 11 months. So just real clear. And everyone laughed. We got a good chuckle. People still mention that to me, that I got up there and said that in front of our parent body.
Yeah.
But yes, that was my introduction into or my story, I guess, of how I got into fatherhood for the first time. And now we have 4 beautiful children. We have a child, the baby girl that we lost, who's with the Lord now. But we are, just thriving and loving life and loving the opportunity we have to raise our children.
Well, what an excellent story. So what was your dominant emotion when you discovered that you were going to be a dad?
Wow. Yeah. I don't remember what the first emotion was. But I do have a defining moment I can remember vividly. And that was the day he was born. We're sitting in the hospital, and I think I still somewhere have the note. I took my phone out and I just had all these thoughts running through my mind. I think he had just been born. So it was our first night staying over in the hospital. And I remember just this overwhelming feeling of, what in the world am I doing? I have now another human life that I'm responsible for. And as prepared as you are, or as you think you are, and all of that, when you start hearing those cries in the middle of the night, it becomes real that this is my responsibility. There's no one coming to help. There's no, in the sense of like, this is my responsibility. So I can remember the dominant, because that was the question you asked, feeling, especially the first couple days. It went away pretty quick, but the first couple days of just, am I really prepared for this? And I knew I had a great father, a great example, great role model. And, he was still very active in my life. We had a great relationship, but still just that thought of, can I replicate what I've been given to pass that on to my son?
Yeah. And again, it just emphasizes how blessed you were to have a father who had shown you what it is to be a good dad.
Yeah.
Especially with so many of the fathers that we work with, minister to, and serve, who have no idea, because they've either didn't have a father at all present in their lives, or one who was abusive, neglectful, and all sorts of other things. So again, you're doubly blessed having had such a great dad, and then also such a great grandfather who continued to mentor you
Mhm.
as a dad yourself. So again, thank the Lord and kudos to my friend Mike.
Yes, yes.
Um, all right. So, and then you had another,
Mhm.
and then you had another. You have a total of
Uh,
3?
4.
4. Okay. You've got 4. How old is your youngest?
Our youngest is 1. She just turned 1, in May, so she's, what's that, 14 months? Tomorrow she'll be 15 months.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Now I wanna turn the page, and I wanna ask you about the work that you do.
Mhm.
Um, Really important because earning a living, is crucial. It's everything. It's something every dad must do. I mean, it's our responsibility, as you noted earlier, to take care of our children, take care of our families, to be a good example as a father at home. And there's a lot of pressure, and to do that for most of us, to do that adequately. And some of us are in fields or callings which don't pay the greatest.
Mhm.
And so there's a pressure to take on another job or to work a bunch of overtime or whatever needs to be done in order to prepare to be able to uh, provide for our families in the way that we would like to.
Mhm.
And you have come up with a I think just a marvelous mechanism or framework by which people like pastors, for instance, who are typically notoriously underpaid and overworked, to be able to find a way to create more income for themselves without neglecting their primary responsibility to their own family, spending enough time with the wife and the kids. Tell us what you can, and as much as you're willing to share about how you got started with this and the basic information about what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. So you're exactly right. I mean, so many people just live life very stressed because of finances. They're, as you said, working in a field where they're underpaid, and all of those things. And then that's certainly true in a lot of cases. What I've found, and what I've really learned over the past, 5, 6 years, is that the reason why that happens a lot of times is simply because most people never ever really figure out the true value that they have. They're told, this is a good career. You would be good at this. We're all kind of funneled into different careers, whether it's through education, like the school funnels us through. Maybe our school counselors push us a certain direction. Maybe it's parents, family, whatever it is. And a lot of times people end up settling in careers that may pay the bills. They may even have come to like it or may even really love it, but they realize that I am being underpaid for the value that I bring. Or they never realize that. Some people never realize that that's the case. So what God has allowed me to create is, one, to recognize that trend that most people are getting paid according to the value that they've accepted that they have. And the truth is they have way more value than that. And so what I help people do is to fine tune, first off, identify and then fine tune what their unique value is to the world. What's the thing that they do better than anybody else? What's the thing that they enjoy doing? The thing they feel called to do, the thing that generates a result for someone else or solves a problem for someone else. Every person, every human being has this. Everybody does. And this is, I shout this from the rooftops because we're not taught this largely, but everybody has something that they are uniquely designed to do. There might be a million people that also do it, but no one will do it like you. Further than that, there are people who would only work with you because for some reason your voice resonates with them. Two people can be saying the same thing. Hey, I can help you do XYZ. Hey, I can help you do XYZ. Well, one of those voices, whether it's because of, I mean, it could be anything. It could be physical. It could be just their demeanor, their spirit, their voice, their framework that they use versus the other person. people will be drawn to who they're drawn to. So I say all that to say, there really is no competition, and that's one thing that I teach. There's no competition in the market space as far as if you're a person who understands I have value and you understand this framework that I teach, which is identify your value, find who it's valuable to, create an offer for them, and then tell them about it. Very simple. And by doing that, you now position yourself to the world as I'm a person of value. Here's the problem I can solve for this person. And everyone who's that person who has that problem, we show you how to get them, or not all everyone, because we can't reach the whole world, but to as many people as we can, we work to get them to get you in their view so that they can find you, they can pay you for your service, your product, your program, whatever it is that you do. And the value that you are to release into the world can now not only be released to help people solve a problem, achieve a result, whatever the case is, but also it will pay you much better. In 99% of the cases, it's going to pay you much better than your 9-to-5 does, because value pays, and it pays very well.
So how do you get someone who has lived their lives undervaluing themselves, right? How do you get them to take on a different mindset that gives them the confidence then to actually begin to offer what it is that they're bringing to the table at a fair price?
Yeah. So great question. Information is what changes mindsets. People have the mindset they have based on the information they've been given. So everyone's operating, we're all just basically drawing conclusions based on observations we've made in our past and information we've been given. That's literally what everyone's life is a set of responses to what we already know or who we are right now. So the way I get someone to do that, first off, is I can't get someone to do that who doesn't already have it somewhat burning within them. And I won't even attempt to. Meaning, I'm not going to try to convince someone who does not know their own value, their own worth, and also is content with where they are. I can't help that person. I don't really try to. I mean, I'll still talk with them. But what I'm saying is my framework, my business is designed for those who already know there's something more that I'm missing. There's something more I should be doing. There's something more I'm feeling called to, but maybe they're the person who has no clue what to do with that information. So I'm able to help them. I do some educating. In fact, I do a lot of that through free master classes and challenges and videos and things like that. And I put out different literature, workbooks, ebooks to educate, to try to call out those people who maybe they do feel called to something higher, but they feel like, because I don't know what to do with that, I just do nothing with it. And I'll just ride this wave out until retirement or until whatever, another door opens, and I'm good with that. I don't mind trying to help pull that person up to say, hey, you've got value in you. And typically that person, when they hear that message, they respond to it right away because they're like, yes, you're right. That is in there. I've just buried it. I can help that person. So mainly it's to answer your question, information leads to the mindset change. Once that person realizes you're right, I do have more value. And now it's someone else telling me other than just that voice in my heart that I've kind of suppressed because I didn't know what to do with it. And so that's usually all it takes for that person to kind of say, okay, what's the next step? Where do we go from here? Because I'm ready to build something valuable. I'm ready to impact the world. I'm ready to make more money doing it.
And you have successfully been able to help some people with that. We'll talk more about that after this brief timeout. My guest today is Michael Cooper II, and he's sharing his fatherhood journey and this fascinating work that he is doing that's going to benefit a lot of fathers and others in our world today. Stay with us. We'll be back with the Fathering Strong podcast after this.
Every father faces a crucial question. How do I become the dad my children truly need? I'm Bruce Stapleton, and my new book, Fathering Strong, God's Blueprint for Leading Your Family, offers the guidance you've been searching for. Drawing from scripture and real-life experiences, this book provides practical wisdom for fathers at every stage, from cradling a newborn to connecting with adult children. Discover how to build a legacy of faith, courage, and love through authentic fatherhood. Available now where books are sold.
Michael Cooper is my guest today, Michael Cooper II, and we are enjoying our conversation with him about his fatherhood and career journey. Now, you've been working with pastors.
Mhm.
As quiet as it's kept, pastors are fathers too. Most of us have lives, and you have found that there are many fathers who are pastors, and they happen to also be underpaid and on call 24/7, facing all the stress of being a parent, being a husband, and being a pastor. And you have found that you can help them to be able to identify what it is that's in them beyond their role as a pastor that they can then use to help them financially without overburdening them with a lot of time that they cannot spare anyway. Talk about that.
Yeah, so what I found is when you identify the unique, what I call the unique value proposition that you bring to the world, to the earth, like literally what you were placed here to do and to do well and to help people do, it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take as much of yourself as you might think, or as much as, like, let's say a traditional 9 to 5 does, because you're no longer getting paid based on the amount of time you put in. You're getting paid for what's in here. So m- the job industry and educate everything teaches us that in order that the purpose of money is to pay bills, right? They may not directly say it, but that's what we're wired to think, like money is for bills, and the way you get money is by working, by exchanging your time for someone else's money. I always say, really what it is we're exchanging a lot of our time for a little bit of your employer's money, because that's all you're getting. You're getting a little bit of their money for a lot of your time. And when I really started to understand this is what led me into starting my own business. But um, the idea is, it doesn't take as much time as you think, because you're sharing life experience. You're sharing, and not so much the life experience. And I shared this with you, Pastor. People so much don't care necessarily about your story. They just care about, what did you learn from your story that can help me? That's what people care about. And I mean, obviously, I mean, on to at the end of the day, we care about each other at a certain level, and we care, we're interested in people's stories and those things. But when it comes to a business, prospective clients aren't interested per se in your story. They just want to know, how did you learn what you learned? That's the extent to which I'm interested in your story. And so, being able to help people realize that what you have to offer is valuable, and the way that you can make money from that is simply by saying, I'm the person who helps this kind of person who wants to achieve this kind of result do so in this amount of time. When you learn that simple framework of how to position yourself, how to even think about yourself and what you do, and that becomes your identity, people are going to be knocking your door down who fit into that description. That's how you make money from it, because you are speaking directly to the people who need it. You're not saying, hey, I have this product, come buy it from me. Because that's what sales is, right? I have something, it can help you. You may not want it or need it or be interested, but I'm going to try to convince you why you need it. We don't teach that. That's not how my clients operate. It's not how I operate. We instead teach you how to become loud about what you do and who you are and who you serve. That will cause the people who need that, and who need that more than anything else in their life right now. That's like, your solution will solve the biggest problem in their life. That's why it works, and that's why they'll pay you, because they've already been looking for you. And so that's what I teach my clients is, there's someone looking to pay you right now for something you probably do for free, or something you've hung on the shelf that you actually enjoy. Someone will pay you for it if you package it right.
And what you do is help that person get in touch with, or to identify what it is that they offer, that they can offer, if they package it correctly and present it correctly, and it could actually help them with their financial challenges.
Correct. Yes, sir. That's what we do.
So, as I said, you've worked mostly with pastors. Are there other individuals in other fields of endeavor that could also benefit from this framework?
Yeah, so this framework's actually for anybody. Like I said earlier, every person, every human being has something that they uniquely can offer, that someone will buy. The internet age has it's completely changed the game in so many ways, good and bad. But overall, it has become a tool by which the entire world is your prospective client pool. And that's for everybody. That's for anybody right now who is alive has access to, right, the entire world as far as marketing. So that means I may not know anyone in my area who might buy my service or my product, but guess what? There's 8 billion people out there. There is a huge market for your thing. So it's not only for pastors. However, when I first started out, that was who I felt the most called to help. Because being a son of a pastor, I got to see a lot of stuff, good and bad. I got to know a lot of his friends who were also pastors, got to see a lot of stuff, good and bad. So I knew some of the struggles that some pastors were having. And so that's where my heart was, to help them. And it kind of morphed into what it is now from something different for pastors. But that's the biggest need I saw, was for help with finances and understanding how can I get my expertise and my value out to the world in ways other than just on my Sunday or my midweek service. And so we've helped people do that. But now, yeah, we have clients who are not just pastors. We don't just market to pastors anymore. We market to any Christian believer. If you're a believer in Christ, this framework works for you. And the hidden truth is this framework will work for anybody, whether you're Christian or not. But I don't want to work with everyone. I want to work with believers. I want to help spread their message, spread, the expertise of that's already in the body of Christ. That's what I want to help amplify and get out there. But to answer the question simply, the framework works for anybody.
And this is particularly interesting to me because I see it as a need to help fathers who are struggling financially. They may be working hard every day to provide for their families and find themselves still falling short because prices continue to rise. Everything's expensive, and you probably also know men who have tried to answer that need by taking a second job or, working a bunch of overtime. And then that necessarily takes away the precious time that they really should be spending with their families,
Right.
with their children. My father went through that, and I won't bore you with my dad's story, but he raised 13 children with one wife. And I personally saw him be faithful to his family, to his wife, be faithful to his church, and work 2 and 3 jobs, a full-time job and then a couple of part-time things just to keep food on the table and to make sure that we had what we needed. So I've got a passion for anything that's going to help a father to be able to provide in a way that's adequate, for today's financial realities. And I think you are bringing something that could really help a lot of fathers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, for sure, because it all comes back to education. And again, most people should just settle into a career because it was the best of what they thought were their available options. I mean, think about it. When we pick a career path, it's because we've done some sort of process of elimination of, these are my options. And it's because we aren't aware that this option that I'm talking about exists, that you can package yourself in today's society and in a time and place where people are often looking for self-help, personal development, growth. They're always online looking for. There are people, thousands, tens, probably hundreds of thousands of people right as we speak who are Googling something about a problem they have and how to get help with it. And they're willing to pay for it. So we just don't we're not taught that. Nowhere teaches us that. School doesn't teach us that. Church doesn't teach us that. No industries that we're part of really teaches us what I just said. And so we end up working a job that we're underpaid. And this is not a popular opinion, but it's truth anyway. At least I believe it's truth, is the market. One of my coaches told me the market is always fair. Meaning, and again, it's fine. You throw your arrows at Pastor Eli, not me on this one.
Thanks a lot. That's what I need, more arrows.
No, but this was so freeing to understand that the market's always fair. It's going to always pay based on what the market demands that it pays. So what I'm saying with that is a lot of people are underpaid in the sense that they're not making enough money to meet basic needs or, to live a life that they'd like to live. And the hard truth is not so much that they're underpaid. In most cases, could we find cases where it is true? Maybe, but most people are paid according to the value that their job description has, not the value that they have, the value that their job description has. And because we don't know the difference, we settle into, for me, I'll talk about me. I was a teacher for 8 years. Enjoyed the majority of my time doing that, made some amazing connections, relationships. The most I made in 8 years, by my 8th year, I had just crossed the $50,000 threshold. And this was almost, this was about 7 or 8 years ago. And the reality is my value to that school and to those students and even to those, my coworkers was much higher than that. How do I know? Because they would tell me, in different ways. You figure out, like, man, people, they really appreciate what I bring to the table here. My value was higher than $50,000 a year. The ripple effects of what I was able to bring on a day-to-day basis to those students and just to that atmosphere, just bringing God into the school and into these children's lives and into infusing it into my teaching when I could, it was worth more than $50,000 a year, but I was getting paid based on what my job description was. And teachers, based on the market, get paid what they get paid. We can call it underpaid, we can call it unfair, whatever, but we're paid what the market dictates. Here's the kicker. When you provide value at a level that solves someone's biggest problem, okay? Teachers don't get paid $100,000 because they are not solving people's perceived biggest problem. They're solving a problem. We have to have education. We have to have the system, all of that. They're not solving anyone's biggest problem. If you can tap into what's the biggest problem someone could have that I uniquely, for whatever reason, again, life experience, education, trial by fire, natural gifts, just having a gift from the Lord. If I can solve the biggest problem for someone and identify who that person is, then what I have to offer them is the most valuable thing they could get their hands on. Therefore, they are willing to pay me much greater than someone might think. I remember the first time my wife said, women are going to pay me $5,000 and $10,000 to help coach them in life. I said, you're crazy. People don't do that. I told her that straight up. I said, you got to get a regular job. No one pays for that kind of stuff. But she understood that if you can solve someone's biggest problem they have, their perceived biggest problem, whether it actually is their biggest problem or not, they will pay you money that you wouldn't imagine and be happy to do it. That's the thing. You're not twisting their arm to do it. They can't wait to pay you for it because you have shown them that you can solve their problem or help them get some sort of result. Hopefully that makes sense and answers your question.
It makes all kinds of sense. But the key for that to work, help me if I'm understanding, the key for that to work is that, first of all, understand what it is you bring that can solve someone's problem, and then identifying those people who you can solve the problem for.
Yes. That's half of the process. Yes.
All right. So what's the other half?
So the other half. So yeah, as you mentioned, you have to identify what my thing is, right? Or really define it. And that's not always easy. In fact, it can be really hard. Most people don't know how to do it, which is why they give up on the process. Right. But that's where it's important to have someone who can pull that out of you. We typically don't know what our best traits are. We have a perception of ourselves that's typically off from everyone else's perception of us, whichever direction that goes. And so sometimes someone else who knows us or who can learn about us or just talk to us can identify valuable things that we have to offer that we never have identified. And so you have to, you're right. It's easy. It may sound easier said than done, but that's why you have to have someone who can pull that out of you. And once you're able to identify what's my main thing that I'm really, really good at, then identify who are the people who really have this problem and want to get rid of it. They need a solution to this, like they need air. Who are those people? Where can I find them? How do I reach them? That's the next part. Well, then after that, and that takes you have to, there's skill that goes along with that, and knowing how to identify those people, and how to teach someone to be okay with everyone not being their ideal person. That's part of the work too. But then also, how do I then create my offer? What is it that I actually do for them to help them get this result? And that takes the knowledge on, somewhat of a knowledge on how to package things together, how to price things. What is the market saying people are paying for this now? All those kind of things go into it as well. And then lastly, how to actually do the marketing side of it. I don't like the word marketing because it comes with a certain connotation, but how do I get loud about what I do and who I help? And that's what I call my fourth step in my framework. And by doing those things, that's where you get to to be able to live the life where you are providing, you're making money, you're impacting lives, you're creating, you're creating results for other people, getting paid very well to do it, all based on something that you enjoy doing, you feel called to, and you're uniquely equipped to do.
Fascinating. That's golden. Mike,
yes,
I'm sure you know it. It's it's amazing. It's amazing set of teachings that you have, and I believe you're going to help lots and lots of people with this. We're going to take a second and final break, and then when we come back, we're going to wrap things up. And I want you to tell people who want to know more, want to get in touch with you, how they might be able to do that. My guest is Mike Cooper Jr. I keep saying junior, but you prefer the second.
The second.
I do too. We'll continue our conversation after this brief timeout.
Children benefit significantly from the presence of committed, loving, nurturing fathers. Strong fathers contribute to stable families and safe, healthy communities. Fathering Strong connects, engages, and empowers fathers. Join the fatherhood movement at fatheringstrong.com to discover a wealth of resources, from inspiring videos to informative articles and instructive courses. By subscribing to our resources, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping Fathering Strong provide these valuable tools to families in need. Visit fatheringstrong.com, download the app, and subscribe to our YouTube channel today. Together, let's build stronger families and communities.
Michael Cooper II is my guest today on the Fathering Strong podcast, and we have had for me, it is a fascinating conversation about how anyone basically can help themselves by helping other people, and what could be better than that? So he's been sharing with us his somewhat about his framework. There's a whole lot more to it. If you are interested in learning more, Michael is going to tell you how you might get in touch with him so that he could have a conversation with you about how they might be able to help themselves and others in this way. So, Mike, how would someone reach you?
Yeah, so very simply, you just go to thepurposepastor.com. The Purpose Pastor, that's my brand. The whole idea is helping people discover and develop in their purpose, and create a profitable offer around it. And so thepurposepastor.com, there's all kind of information there about what I help people do. Also a link to access our Purpose Pays More challenge. We're going to launch a new challenge here in the next couple of weeks yet. Still kind of working on some things, but the last cohort that we did with some new clients was through the Purpose Pays More challenge. You can access all 3 of those videos, which they're really life-changing, I believe, and just powerful. So go do that. They're absolutely free to access, and all the information is there. And if you want to go any further after that, there will be prompts on how you can schedule a call with me, to see if you're a good fit for what we do and all those kind of things. But yeah, thepurposepastor.com.
I want to thank you so much for spending this time with us, Michael. I really do appreciate it. Look forward to speaking with you again. In fact, we talk on a fairly regular basis anyway, but perhaps we can have you come back again sometime and share more about your work and how it relates to fatherhood and how this could be a tremendous help to millions of fathers out there who need this kind of help in order to enable them to be the dads that they really have it in their heart to be for their children. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
We appreciate it. Any final words for our audience today?
No, just I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me. And yeah, fatherhood is super important, and anything we can do to help strengthen fathers and their ability to be good fathers, we want to help do. And this certainly is something that can help fathers have more financial stability, more time freedom for sure, to be able to spend with their children, to develop as fathers, and ultimately as children of the Most High God. That's the whole goal. And I'm excited that we get to do it. Thank you for allowing me to have this space just to talk about this.
Well, you're very welcome. It was certainly our blessing. And I want to invite all of our listeners and viewers to be with us next time on the Fathering Strong podcast, when our guest will be actor Peter Lawson Jones. And he's going to talk about a new project, a new movie that he is about to release. Thanks again for viewing our Fathering Strong podcast today. We hope you'll join us the next time. And you can find our whole archive of podcasts and blog posts on our website, urbanlight.org. Please subscribe to the Fathering Strong podcast on YouTube. God bless you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Fathering Strong podcast. We hope you found the conversation inspiring and helpful. To make sure you don't miss out on future episodes, subscribe to the Fathering Strong podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Just search for Fathering Strong in your favorite app. The Fathering Strong podcast is brought to you by Urban Light Ministries, a nonprofit organization with a 3-decade legacy dedicated to turning the hearts of fathers to their children. Thanks to your support, we're able to keep this podcast and many other resources free for dads everywhere. To learn more about Urban Light Ministries or to donate and help us continue this important work, visit urbanlight.org. The Fathering Strong podcast is a production of Urban Light Ministries. Eli Williams is your host, and Bruce Stapleton of the Momentum Group is the producer and engineer. Our theme music is provided by saxophonist Harold Rayford.